Now, after that, we have gone through each of the process groups and the key process that it is involved in each of these key process groups, including the initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling, and finally closing. Now it's the time to go through each of these 10 knowledge areas in project management PMP exam. So in the PMP certification, the 10 knowledge area are the key part of the PIM book guide or the body or the project management body of knowledge. And these areas cover the essential domains and skills needed to manage the project successfully. Each knowledge area encompasses a specific project management processes and concepts. Why do we need these 10 knowledge area? So we need the knowledge area in project management because they provide a comprehensive framework to manage the project successfully. Each knowledge area focuses on a specific aspect of the project management, ensuring that all critical components of a project are covered. To start with the first knowledge area here, which is the project integration management. So what exactly is project integration management? Project integration management involves processes and activities to identify and define, combine and unify and coordinate the various processes and project management activities within the project management process groups. And the key processes involved in project integration management, including developing the project charter, as we mentioned before, which authorizes the project and provides the project manager with an authority to apply the organization resources or to utilize these organization resources. The next key process here we have is developing the project management plan. And that plan defines, prepares, and coordinates all of the other plans and sub-plans and integrates them into a comprehensive project management plan. The next integration management process here is the direct and manage project work. And that leads and performs the work defined in the project management plan and implements the approved changes in case if any. Next, we have manage the project knowledge. So project knowledge is part of the integration management plan, which ensures the project manager to use the existing knowledge and create a new knowledge to achieve the project objectives. The next key process here we have is monitor and control project work, and that track, reviews, and report the project progress against the performance objectives defined in the project management plan. Next, we have perform integrated change control, and that happens on the monitoring and controlling phase. And that key process ensures that all of the reviews, the project manager reviewing all of the change requests, the approved changes, and manages, the changes to the deliverables or the organization process assets, project documents, and the project management plan. The final key process here we have involved in project integration management is close the project or phase. And that finalizes all the activities across all project management process groups to formally complete the project or phase. So these are the key processes which is involved on the project integration management. So think as the first knowledge area here is the project integration management and all of these key processes that are covered on the project integration management. Next, we have project scope management. What exactly is project scope management? Project scope management ensures that the project includes all the work required and only the work required to complete the project successfully. And the key processes involved in project scope management, including plan scope management, which creates the scope management plan that documents how the project scope will be defined, validated, and controlled. The next key process here is collect the requirements, which determine, document, and manages the stakeholder needs and requirements to meet the project objectives. Defining the scope. So defining the scope is when you develop a detailed description of the project or the product that you are going to deliver for the stakeholder. After you define the scope, you create the WBS, which is the work breakdown structure, and that subdivides the project deliverables and project work into a smaller and manageable components. After you complete creating your WBS, you need to also, as one of the key processes here, is to validate the scope, which formalizes the acceptance of the completed project deliverables. Finally, we have the controlling the scope. So controlling the scope monitors the status of the project and the product scope and managing the changes to the scope baseline. So the scope baseline will go through all of these concepts later on this course. The third knowledge area here is the project schedule management. Simply as it manages the timely completion of the project and managing all of these milestones, setting the milestones, setting all of the deadlines to each of these activities when the project defining the activities. And the key processes involved in project schedule management start with planning schedule management, and that establish the policies, procedures, and documentation for planning, developing, managing, and executing and controlling the project schedule. And that schedule management plan will include like such as defining the activities when you identify and documents the specific action to be performed to produce the project deliverables. After you define the activities, you have to sequence the activities. So sequencing the activities is that you can say that you need to identify and document the relationships among these project activities. After you finishing from sequencing the activities, you need to estimate the activity durations. And that means simply estimating the number of work periods needed to complete an individual activity with estimated resources and sometimes costs. Next, we have developing the schedule. So after you complete all of these processes, you will be able to develop the whole project schedule. And that analyzes, including the activity resources or let's say activities that you have identified and their sequence, and their duration, and the resource requirements and the schedule constraints to create the project schedule model. Finally, you need to control the schedule. So controlling the schedule, you can say that you need to monitor the status of the project activities to update the project progress and managing or manages the changes to the schedule baseline, which you have created um, when you define the activities, when you sequence all of these, and then you estimate the activity duration, and then will result the schedule baseline. And the same thing goes to the scope baseline and the scope baseline, and the same also goes to the cost baseline. The next knowledge area here we have is the project cost management, and that involves planning, estimating, budgeting, financing, funding, managing, and controlling the costs so the project can be completed within the approved budget. The key processes involved in project cost management, when you have the plan cost management, which is again established the policies, procedures, and the documentation for planning, managing, expending, and controlling the project costs. And the project management, the project cost management will include, let's say, estimating the cost when you have to develop an approximation of the monetary resources needed to complete the project activities. After you estimate the cost, you need to determine the budget, which aggregates the estimated cost of an individual activities or work packages to establish an authorized cost baseline. After you establish this cost baseline, you need to control the cost once the project in an execution phase. So controlling the cost monitors the status of the project to update the project costs and managing the changes to the cost baseline. The fifth knowledge area here is the quality management. Quality management incorporates the organization quality policy regarding planning and managing, controlling the project and product quality requirements to meet the stakeholder expectation. The key processes involved in project quality management, including plan quality management, which identifies the quality requirements and standards for the project and its deliverables, and documents how the project will demonstrate the compliance with the quality requirements. The next key process here involved is managing the quality. When the project starts and you start executing the project, you need to translate the quality requirements or the quality management plan into an executable quality activities such audits, checklists that incorporate the organization quality policies into the project to ensure that you are implementing these quality. Finally, you have controlling the quality, which monitors and records the results of executing the quality management activities to assess performance and ensure the project outputs are complete, correct, and meet the customer expectations. The sixth knowledge area here we have is the project resource management, and that identifies and acquires and managing the resources needed for the ensuring completing the project successfully. The key processes involved in project resource management, including a planned resource management, which defines how to estimate and how to accrue um, uh, and how to manage and utilize the physical and team resources. The next key process here we have estimating the activity resources. As you recall that we have tried to estimate the activity time needed when we have presented the project schedule management. The same thing goes here to the project resource management. So we have to estimate the activity resources, um, including the team resources and the type of resources that you need, such as the materials or equipments or supplies, which is necessary to perform the project work. After you estimate the let's say the activity resources, you need to acquire these resources, which means obtaining the team members or purchasing these equipment, facilities, or materials, or hiring suppliers and the other resources necessary to complete the project work. Next key process here is developing a team, and that improves the competencies, team members' interaction, and overall team environment to enhance the project performance. Next key process we have here is you have to manage the team. So you can track the team member performance or provide a feedback or resolve any issues, and managing the team changes to optimize the project performance. The final key process involved in project resource management, which is controlling the resources. And controlling the resources ensures that the physical resources assigned and allocated to the project, and they are available as planned. Also, it monitors the planned versus the actual utilization of the resources. It performs, again, the corrective action in case if it's necessary, or implementing any change that it's related to the resources. The seventh knowledge area here is project communication management. Project communication management ensure timely and appropriate planning, collection, creating, or the distribution, or the retrieval management, controlling and monitoring, and the ultimate disposition of the project information. And the key processes involved in project communication management includes plan communication management, when you have to develop an appropriate approach and plan for project communication based on the stakeholder information and requirements. The next key process here involved in project communication management is managing the communication, when you have to ensure a timely and appropriate collection or creation or distribution of these, require or communication requirement which you have agreed with the stakeholders. The final key process here is monitoring the communication, which ensures that the information needs of the project and its stakeholders are met. Risk management or project risk management. So, project risk management conducts risk management planning, identification. Think of all of these processes which involved on planning, identifying the risks, or the analyzing the impact, or identifying the response for each of these risks, and ensures the risk implementation and monitoring on the project itself. The key processes involved in project risk management, including a plan risk management, which defines how to conduct risk management activities for the project. Next key process here is to how to identify the risks. Identifying such individual risk or project risks, as well as a source of overall project risks, and documents their characteristics. The next key process involved in risk management or project risk management is perform a qualitative risk analysis, when you prioritize individual project risks for further analysis or action by assessing their probability of occurrence and its impact on the overall project. Next key process here we have is performing quantitative risk analysis. Think as, assigning a numeric values for each of these risks in terms of cost or time. So numerically analyzes the combined effect of identify individual project risks and sources of the uncertainty overall project objectives. So think as the evaluation or trying to identify cost and time or schedule on each of these project risks, which we are gonna have that explained in detail in the later sessions when we reach the project risk management. So the next key process here involved on project risk management is plan risk responses, when you develop the options and action to enhance the opportunities and to reduce threats on project objectives. Also, we have implementing the risk responses, when you implement the agreed upon risk responses plan that you have identified when you were identifying these risks. The last key process here is monitoring the risk. So monitoring the implementation of the agreed upon risk responses or plans, or track, identify risks, or identified, these risks that you have found on the executing phase, and also analyzes the new risks that might, come on when you are executing the project, and also evaluating the risk processes effectiveness through all of the project. The ninth knowledge area here is project procurement management. Project procurement management involves the processes necessary to purchase or acquire products or services, or result needed from outside of the project team. And it includes the planning or conducting and controlling the procurement to ensure that the project meets its objectives. The key processes involved in project procurement management, including planned procurement management, and that activities under that key process involve, determining whether to procure or what to procure, how to procure it, how much does it cost, and when to procure all of these, let's say, resources. After that, you develop a procurement management plan or procurement strategy. Also, you come up with bid documents or procurement statement of work, sort of selection criteria, and make or buy decisions. The next key process in planning procurement management is to conduct the procurement. And conducting the procurement means the process of obtaining a seller responses or selecting the seller and awarding a contract. The next key process here we have is to control the procurement. What does it mean with controlling the procurement? Controlling the procurement is the process of managing the procurement relationships, including monitoring the contract performance, making changes and corrections as an appropriate, and closing out the contracts. The final knowledge area here is project stakeholder management. And project stakeholder management involves identifying all people or organization impacted by the project, including also analyzing the stakeholder expectations and their impact on the project. Also developing an appropriate management strategies for effectively engaging the stakeholders in project decision and execution. The key processes involved in project stakeholder management is first that you need to identify the stakeholders. Identifying the stakeholder mean it's you can consider as it's the process of identifying the project stakeholders, early and regularly, and analyzing and documenting the relevant information regarding their interests, involvement or interdependencies, influence, and potential impact on project success. The next key process involved at project stakeholder management knowledge area is to plan stakeholder engagement. And that is the process of developing approaches to involve the project stakeholders based on their needs, expectation, interests, and potential impact on the project. Also, one of the key processes here is you need to manage the stakeholder engagement. So think as that you first start with identifying the stakeholders and then planning the stakeholder engagement, how you have to engage with them. Now you have to manage the stakeholder engagement when you are at your execution phase. Managing the stakeholder engagement, this process of communicating and working with the stakeholders to meet their needs, expectation, or you might need to address issues and foster the needed stakeholder involvement within the project. So the final key process here involved at this knowledge area is monitor the stakeholder engagement. And that is the process of monitoring overall project stakeholder relationships and adjusting the strategies and plans to ensure that you are engaging with your stakeholders. So these are the 10 knowledge areas that you need to know for the PMP exam. And these 10 knowledge areas forms the backbone of project management, covering everything from planning, scheduling, and risk or stakeholder management. They are essential for ensuring projects are completed successfully on time, within budget, and within quality, meeting all of the project constraints.